In this video, it will be explained how to add and subtract fractions. We'll start by explaining how to add fractions. So imagine you had the question, what is 1/2 plus 3/7? Well, first let's start with some terminology. The top number in a fraction is called the numerator, and the bottom number in the fraction is called a denominator. I'll be using those terms while explaining how to do addition and subtraction of fractions. Well, we cannot add two fractions together if the denominator is different. If the bottom number is different between the two fractions, we need to get to having a common denominator. We need the denominator to be the same between the two fractions. So instead of it being a 2 and a 7 in the bottom number, we need both bottom numbers, both denominators, to be the same number. So what's a number that's divisible both by 2 and 7? Well, 14 would be. It would work if the denominator for both was 14. So as long as we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, then that's an okay conversion. So we can convert 1/2 into anything, into having any larger numerator or denominator, as long as we multiply the top number and the bottom number by the same thing. So we can multiply them both by 7. And that's fine. We could have multiplied them both by 2. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4, it's equal to 4/8, right? It's also equal to 7/14. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator in 1/2 by 7. And then for the 3/7, we're going to try to get that denominator to be 14. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom number in 3/7 by a 2. So let's see what happens when we do that. Well, we end up with 7/14 plus 6/14. Now we've got the denominator as being common. We have a common denominator. We have the same denominator in each fraction. And now we just add the numerator straight across. So 7/14 plus 6/14 is 13/14. Note that we leave the denominator as 14. We don't add 14 plus 14 to be 28. We just add the numerator straight across and we leave the denominator as it is. So 7 plus 6 is 13. And we leave the denominator as 14, so it's 13/14. Now let's go on to talking about subtraction, in which we use really the same method. So imagine if instead of being asked to add 1/2 plus 3/7, we're asked to subtract them. Well, we have the same challenge as before. We need to have a common denominator. We need to adjust each of these fractions so that they have the same denominator as each other. And just like before, we can multiply the numerator and the denominator of 1/2 by 7, and we can multiply the numerator and denominator of 3/7 by 2. We can adjust these fractions however we need in order to make it such that they have the same numerator, or excuse me, as long as they have the same denominator. We need to adjust them so they have the same denominator as one another, or a common denominator. And then once we have achieved this, we just do subtraction with the numerators. So 7 minus 6, and the top numbers there, is 1. So the numerator of 7 minus 6 is a numerator of 1, and then we keep the same denominator of 14. So 7/14 minus 6/14 is 1/14. So remember, the most important thing here in addition and subtraction of fractions is to achieve a common denominator. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel.